Hello, podcast listeners. Dunham here.
And don't forget me, Brian DudeMan.
Do you know what Buffalo really needs? More podcasts.
And luckily for you, Heather and I have decided to make a brand new podcast. This one's going to have more of a heavy focus on musicians. We'll still have writers, actors, directors, but this one's going to have more of a focus on musicians. Is there anything else, Heather?
What are you guys doing down there?
Nothing.
You better not be podcasting. No, of course not.
I think she bought it.
Oh, one more thing. Don't tell Mom about this podcast.
Hello, podcast listeners. Thank you all for tuning in. This is the first episode of the Don't Tell Mom About This podcast. My name is Brian DudeMan, and right now I'd like to introduce my co-host.
I'm Heather Dunham, and you can refer to me as Dunham.
So, Heather, this first episode, I figured we should introduce ourselves, and by doing so, I thought we should let the audience know who we are, so we're the guests this episode.
Yeah, they'll be stuck with us for quite a while, so I guess that makes sense. So the way this podcast and future episodes will work is we'll start off each episode with fan mail, and we encourage you, the listener, to send us your questions for future guests. We'll ask them on the show, and the guest will answer them. Since we are both the guests this week, I think it's fair that we both answer these questions.
Yeah, I agree. Here is the first question. Where did the idea for this podcast start? I'll be the one to answer. So Heather and I were doing a few fake ads for a podcast I was doing at the time called the You Up Podcast Exclusive. You know, we just had a lot of fun doing it, and we instantly became friends. About a month into our fake ads, the pandemic happened, but Heather and I were still hanging out. We were doing video calls. You know, we weren't doing anything social because of the pandemic. But when things started opening up again, we became best friends. And that's when the opportunity to do a podcast came about. The problem was finding a studio. It took us about 2 years, but we finally found a studio, and that's where we are right now. Heather, why did you agree to do this podcast with me?
I just think it's great to meet people in the community. I've always been a fan of the Buffalo You Up podcast for that reason. It's cool to network and be exposed to what else is going on in the community in that way. And I figure why not be a bigger part?
So what's your process like getting ready for a role?
Well, it depends on if it's to actually film on set or an audition. They're kind of different. For an audition, what I'll typically do is I'll read the sides out loud and record them. And then I'll play them back to myself, like in the car, on break at work, until they feel really natural and I'm predicting what I need to say, so that when I record it, it's not, I'm not worried about memorizing lines. I can focus on my delivery. And then I will usually, it depends on if I need to, how familiar I am with the expressions I need to make. If it's an easy one and I'm like, I'm laughing, I'm cute, I know how to do that. But if it's something weird, I'm perplexed, or I'll practice expressions in the mirror so that I can compare how I feel like I'm holding my face to what I'm actually seeing. A drill that I tend to do is I'll turn away from the mirror, make a face, and then look into the mirror to see if what I thought my face would look like is what it looks like.
I did that as well. That's actually one of the questions, was were you one of those kids? Yeah, every time I talk to my mom, I'm always looking in the mirror. And she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm practicing expressions so I know what to expect from my actors.
You have to. I learned that in theatrical as well for dance class. We would sit in front of the mirror and she would just say expressions. She'd be like, happy, angry, and we would just, So yeah, that's my audition process. I want to make sure it's perfect while I'm auditioning. Obviously, I'm filming it, so if it's not, I just do it again. Once I have a full script and it's a gig that I have, it's a little different. I'll still do the script thing. I'll read that through, I'll record it. but I don't practice so much my delivery. I don't want to get sold on one particular way when I will likely be given direction or corrected, and it can be difficult to unlearn something. So yeah, I'll just not do that part.
So Heather, what kind of roles excite you?
I can find reasons to be excited about pretty much any role. There's ways to relate to pretty much any character. I guess roles that are things that I want to exemplify tend to excite me. Just types of characters that I might admire. And there's a bunch of different types of characters that I might admire for different reasons. I guess powerful roles with strong moral ties tend to be things that I'm drawn toward. Also seem to be my character type. But I don't know, I used to think that I liked darker roles because they're interesting and they challenge me. But I'm finding that I'm more excited about comedy roles because they just don't take as much of a toll. Like, I really enjoy the process of making comedic roles, and I just leave feeling excited rather than having negative energy stick to me from a, like, pensive character or someone going through traumatic experiences.
What's your favorite medium to work with?
I think I'm best with charcoal, but I've been trying to challenge myself more. I think the most challenging medium for me to work with is watercolor. It's just hard to predict the way that the water is going to flow, and I feel like I use watercolor when I do watercolor in not a watercolor typical way. It's just very detailed and exactly where I put my brush. There's people that like put color on and then just let the water go, and then, like slightly alter it after that. I haven't mastered that. We'll see. I like the process of oil paint a lot. It just moves in a way that's really satisfying to me. That's probably my favorite right now. I kind of go through phases. I've been in a pastel phase before, which is, I don't know, it feels more professional than like crayons, but it's basically crayons. I don't know, I like the way those texture up as well, and I can be very detailed on it, but I can layer them unlike crayons typically. I don't know. I could go on, but...
That's the next follow-up. What's your favorite art piece you've made so far?
I still really identify with the very first piece I ever did, which is just a woman on a beach. And I remember I had like an inspiration picture that I was drawing from, but they look so drastically different. Like the expression on her face in the piece that I did is just very calm and happy, like she's thinking about a kiss or something. Whereas in the picture, like the girl's expression looks kind of angry, like the sun's in her eyes or something. And that's something that my uncle pointed out that he liked about the piece, is he's like, you really made it your own, and like you made it more beautiful because of the mood you presented in the picture. I was like, I didn't even know I was doing that. I just did what felt right. But I don't know, it's just nostalgic. It reminds me of, I don't know, that time in my life, I guess. I have specific memories while making it in art class and what I was thinking about and the major things going on then. So there's a lot of reasons I like that one. Aside from that, I don't know, again, I tend to go through phases. I'll keep around my favorite pieces until I'm bored with them, and then I change it. I don't know.
All right, well, that's going to conclude fan mail, guys. Remember, if you want your questions answered, just send them into our Facebook or Instagram. We'll take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with more. Hello, and thank you for tuning in to the Don't Tell Mom About This podcast. This podcast is made possible thanks to the fine folks at the Blue Lagoon Studios. If you are at all interested in finding someone to help make your band's first record possible, might I suggest the guys at the Blue Lagoon Studios. Or if you just need help with some basic audio needs, just give them a call. Once again, that's Blue Lagoon Studios. You're listening to the Don't Tell Mom About This podcast. And we're back. Thank you, Blue Lagoon Studios, for letting us film here. We are going to introduce this new segment. This segment on this show is called Don't Tell Mom About the Segment. So the way it works is every time we have an actor on, we'll bring them on to this podcast. We'll be like, hey, can you act in a DudeMan script? So here we go. This is The Corner Kid at the Party, written by Brian DudeMan. I don't think there's a tagline for this yet. Fade in, interior, therapist's office, day. Little diva, that's me. Medium curly ash brown hair, goatee, black band t-shirt, blue jeans, slouches on the side of the couch's armchair. Stephanie, 30 years, long wavy diamond hair, white blouse, brown khaki, sits straight up in her computer chair that's wedged between the window and work desk. Her desk is covered in scattered paperwork and framed photos of the family.
Hey, little diva, you with me? We only have 10 minutes left. Little diva? Hello, little diva?
Huh? Oh, sorry, I was just thinking. I must have zoned out there for a minute.
If you want to wrap up early, we can. I don't mind. It's only 10 minutes. It's all right if you want to go home.
No, I appreciate that. Really, I do. I just want to cover everything I can today. You know, I don't want to forget or leave anything out and then beat myself up when I go home and be like, shit, I forgot I covered that today. And then wait weeks or even months to book another appointment.
I mean, you have my number. You can text me or call me if it's really important. I don't want you to beat yourself up about it.
No, now you see, I hate that. Texting for me is one of my triggers. The thing about texting is I overanalyze. I can't just send out one text. I have to send out many. And then I overthink every single word. And then there is the waiting game. If somebody doesn't respond immediately, I start to think the worst of them and of me. I'm like, shit, did I say the wrong thing? Did I annoy them? Are they mad at me now? You know, I prefer calling because it's more honest. I can tell by their tone if I am being annoying.
I mean, you can call me if that's easier.
Well, now, you see, you put me in an awkward position. You said to call if it's really important. But then what if something stupid happens to me? If I call to talk about it, then I'll feel foolish. Like last week, I saw an old friend at the mall. I was trying to be polite. I said, hey, we should hang out sometime, you know, just pass the time. But then when I got home, the asshole texted me, and now I have a wave of instant regret that just consumes me. I'm thinking of the stupid shit I did in college. My past life as a drunk is done and over with. How do I tell them that once my dad passed away, I stopped drinking? You know, it's kind of funny. I drank because I want to get closer to my dad. My dad drank to get further away from his family. The irony.
Listen, forget I said call if it's important. You can call to talk about literally anything. Just text me first. Hey, are you free or available? Just because I might be with a client or asleep. I'm sorry again about your father. He loved you. You two were very close to each other.
You really lived in like two places, work and the bar. I remember staying up at 2 a.m. on school nights. I wanted to make sure he was alive. There were times I wish he was home, that he wasn't, but also times that he was home, I wish he wasn't. Do you know what it's like to want love, but also resent and fear it from the person?
It wasn't all bad, though, was it?
I mean, I learned how to read a room from him. That helped me survive. Like days he was pissed, I knew to stay the hell away from him. Days he was happy, I knew to show my failing report card grades. Like I would slide it underneath the door. I tried my comedy on days he was abusive, like physically or mentally manipulative. That helped me to deal with assholes at school, like the people considered bullies at the school I was friends with. They were like, don't mess with him. He's comedic.
So you had friends in school?
I mean, not really. I had school friends, you know, people I talked to and enjoyed their company. But after school, I would go home and sleep. And girls? Girls thought I was creepy. I didn't date anybody until I was 17. And that girl, that was a nightmare and a half.
Did you date any girl or anyone after that?
No, you see, I'm not very social. In fact, I kind of hate most people.
Why do you think that is?
Well, the peers around me have always annoyed me. Like, their brand of comedy was always basic. Their taste in music was always straight trash. I always befriend the kid in the corner. Any large party, there'd always be that one kid in the corner. And I always found him to be the most interesting. He was always the funniest and the most engaging.
So something interesting you just said. You said you were invited to parties. So you must have had a couple of friends.
Okay, here and there. Some of them have moved since I've known them. Most of them have gotten married and have kids now. I wish I had somebody who loved me like that. I've only had one girlfriend in 30 years, and then the river runs cold after that. I've always had friends who dated friends but never circulated around me. Girls would find me attractive or funny, and then once I started to talk to a girl, I would see their facial expression change. Uh, they would immediately lose interest. It's just one of those things that I've learned to accept.
So you said your friends have all moved and you haven't dated anyone in 10 years. So how are you holding up?
Not very well, if I'm being honest.
I'm sorry to hear that. You know I'm here.
Yeah, you're here, but like as a therapist, right? Like we're not friends outside of this, are we?
I would like to think we're friends. I hope you don't think our relationship is just this, that it's trapped between these four blank walls, that it's confined to only 1 hour on Mondays.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, really, I do. But friendship love is a different animal. I think it hits differently than romantic love.
Yeah? You right.
I think our time is just about up. I should go.
Before you go, there's just one thing. I have to ask this just because I'm curious.
Ooh, now I'm intrigued. Shoot, ask me anything.
What did you do? How did you end up here?
Oh, that. Actually, it's a funny story. I set one of my friend's balls on fire. Yeah, we were camping and then he fell asleep. My one friend dared me to light his pants. I thought it would, just light him or, give him like a quick surge of energy. I didn't think it would catch on fire. But his pants were on fire, entirely engulfed, and his pubes were completely singed. We dumped the water cooler on him in time before it spread to his legs.
Well, Lil Diva, thank you. That story was lit.
See what you did there. No problem. And Steph, just one thing. These sessions, they're between us, right?
They are strictly confidential.
That's great, but seriously, don't tell my mom about this. Fade out the end. We will be back with me and Heather. Until then, here's a quick commercial break.
Hey, Chad. Hey. Oh, hey, Crystal. Chad, for the longest time, I've always thought you were pretty cool and,
Well, why wouldn't you think that?
And I was wondering if you have nothing going on after school, would you, I don't know, be interested in grabbing a slice of pizza with me today?
What? Me? Grab pizza with you? Thanks, but no thanks, Christy.
It's Crystal.
Whatever. Listen, I'm saving myself for Tori. She spells her name with a butterfly heart above her eye.
Hey there, Buffalo Bachelors. It's me, your best friend, Crystal. You know, the girl that sits behind you in your film studies and math class. Does that ring a bell? It's fine if you don't remember me. My dad forgot it was my birthday this year. But anyway, there's something that I really want to get off my chest. I really want to make this perfectly clear for all you dude bros out there. Did you hear me? There's something I want to make crystal clear.
Okay, Crystal, that's enough. I'll take it from here. You see, there's something that's been on my book club sisters' minds. We're tired of being bookmarked and penciled in. We're tired of being judged by our covers. So, we have come up with a novel idea. We want to introduce you to our newest app, the Future Librarians Offer Our Resources app. We want to be treated with respect, dignity. We want to be swept off the floor. So we created an app where you can check out future librarians of the world today. Download it today and start meeting your local lonely librarians now.
And we're back. Thank you again to the Blue Lagoon Studios for letting us do our podcast here. I'm Brian DudeMan. Heather is my co-host. So the next question I have is, what are you expecting from this season of the podcast? What are you most excited about with this podcast this season?
So this season, I am excited to get to know some of the people that I've seen and heard about on a deeper level. Something that I love about our podcast is that we don't strictly keep to like professional things and probably the questions they're used to being asked. So I'm excited to get to know some people on a personal basis and hopefully bring that to the viewers as well.
Yeah, that's fair. So as far as me, what I'm excited about, well, I love the guests. Honestly, I kind of am like creatively stuck right now. I don't know what to write or what to film. So having other guests come on and talk about their experiences, their short films, it reignites my passion into filmmaking, into doing stuff creative like this. So that's one aspect. Second part is I love that we get to shine a light on other Buffalo artists, people who don't usually have the opportunity to share their experiences. You know, I love that we have the platform for them and that this is that for them. So that's why I love to do this podcast. It's good to collaborate, and one thing I'm excited about is the Don't Tell Mom About This segment. I get to work with actors who I otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity to. So yeah, I'm excited about this podcast. Thank you again for agreeing to do this podcast with me, Heather. All right, well, that'll conclude this episode of the Don't Tell Mom About This podcast. I've been Brian DudeMan.
And I've been Get Her Dunham.
And we just have one final theme before we go. 1, 2, 3.
Shh, mum's the word. Thank you for listening to the Don't Tell Mom About This podcast. I've been Get Her Dunham.
And I've been Brian DudeMan here live in the Blue Lagoon Studios.
Guys, remember we are on iTunes, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Please share this with all your friends and family. It would really help this podcast out.
And guys, remember, we release these episodes every week, so please, next week, check back in and we will have a brand spanking new episode for you. Until next time,
shh, don't tell Mom about this podcast.